All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Father Anthony Messa, and thank you so much for joining me for another Ask Me Anything video where, as the title implies, you get to ask me any question that you want, and I'll do my best to answer it. And where you can ask your questions on YouTube through the chat function there, or on Facebook. And either way, it'll pop up there on the screen. And like I said, you ask the question, I'll do my best to answer. And thank you so much. Hello, Caleb. Someone was asking me earlier, inquiring minds want to know, Father Anthony, what's going on with your mold? That's right, mold. In case those who don't know, I mentioned it last week that I was in a new space and I had the funny headphones because we got mold in our house. The good news is the mold has been removed. The bad news is that we are still a little bit of a construction project, but we're moving in the right direction. First, we had mold that had to be removed, and that took several days with all the people coming in with the spacesuits, like I said last week. And Marianne was like, my wife was like, what do we like? Should we be wearing masks? Because they're all wearing spacesuits. I'm like, Marianne, we've been living and sleeping and eating like everything we've been doing for the past 8 years in this stuff. So I'm like, by this point, like either we have a third eye or we don't have a third eye. So the mold has been removed. We found the leak that was causing some of the issues. And after several days, we finally got the leak fixed, we hope. And now we're just waiting for the drywall to get patched. So that's the update kind of from the Messa household as to where things are at. But let's do some questions, because that's what you really came for. You didn't really come to hear about mold. You came to hear about spiritual stuff. So thank you to all the people who are saying hello. Hello to you as well. Let's show this question right here, which says, hello from Ethiopia. How can we know a dream if it's from God or Satan? I'll tell you a funny story, true story. It's just last week. I'm not big into dreams. Okay, I'll kind of give you the punchline up front. I'm not big into dreams as being from God, and the reason why is because I have very funny dreams. Just last week, someone on our staff came and said, I had this dream. We're doing like this fundraising right now. We're trying to build a building, and we're trying to collect money for the loans. We can close. We can go to construction, and it's like our goal is to do as much as we can by the end of this month, because next we've got to meet with the bank and things like that. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to morethan-a-building.org. That's morethan-a-building.org, morethan-a-building.org, and spread the word there. But anyway, one of our staff came and said, I had this dream that we collected all the money and we were celebrating and we were glorifying God. And it was just like in the Bible when they built the temple, and it was something, okay. And, I said, that's great. I hope your dreams are more meaningful than mine, because last night I dreamt, and I remember what it was. I think the night before I had dreamt like that a clown was chasing me through an airport or something like that, and I was trying to save the world. So I guess my point is to say is, can God speak through dreams? Yes, for sure. He's God. He can speak to whatever he wants. He can write it in the sky if he wants. But I don't think that's the normal way that he speaks. I think that is the outlier. And even if you just look in the Bible, like there are some people who God spoke through dreams, but it's the outlier. It's the exception, not the rule. So I wouldn't put all my stock and say definitely that any dream that I have is from God. I would seek counsel from my spiritual father and wise people around me. And it may be, it may not be, but I wouldn't just automatically assume that it is. I would talk with someone before I. And here's the other thing about the dream is, a dream, is my opinion. I think a dream can confirm the will of God, but I don't think it'll declare the will of God. Meaning, like, I had a dream that I'm going to marry this person. Okay, that can confirm, what already makes sense. That, she and I get along, that she's a godly person, that can confirm it. But it's unlikely that, like, I can't stand this person, then I have a dream that we get married, and that's like the will of God. You know what I'm saying? The dreams can confirm, but I wouldn't put too much stock into them as declaring the will of God. But again, seek counsel from people who are wise around you. Someone is saying, before you answer, please introduce yourself. My name is Father Anthony Messa. That's who I am. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Domingo, or Ms. Domingo. I'm sorry. I don't know. Thank you. Let's go on with the dream. Someone else talking about dreams. This person's name is Abstract Dream. Good morning, Abuna. May God bless you and your family. Thank you. What are your thoughts on predestination? I just feel like I lean more towards this belief. Some are predestined to suffer and some don't. Okay, predestination. I'll give you a quick 1 minute, maybe minute and a half answer, but obviously it's a big topic that we can talk much more about. The problem is we get messed up between predestination as like the Bible has the word predestined. Okay. So the idea that certain things are predestined, we can't like, okay, but that's different than the theory of predestination, or I don't know what it's called, the doctrine of predestination, or it's different than anything which negates free will. Okay. So the predestination spoken about in the Bible, it's in Romans chapter 8, is not against the free will spoken about in the Bible as well, all throughout. So the idea of predestination that is incorrect is I have no choice. I'm on this path and this is how it's going to be. And, you know, where I end up is outside of my control. I have no free will. I'm a robot. That's incorrect. We don't believe in that. Predestination. Okay. Some people, you said some people are predestined to suffer and some don't. That's fine. Okay. That some people will suffer more than others through no fault of their own. We can say it was predestined. Like you can say it however it is that you want. But what we can't deny is that there's always an element of free will. There's always an element of free choice that the person has in terms of how they respond to it. So like the idea of predestination in some churches and denominations is that my outcome is predetermined. And that's what we don't agree with. What we can say is that God has chosen a certain path for each one of us. Okay. And certain things happen outside of our control. That's fine. And actually the predestination spoken of in Romans chapter 8 is that we were all predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. So that's the true predestination, is that God said, my goal is that you would end up, the destination is that you would be conformed to the image of his son. But we still have the free will to go against that. Okay. So free will and predestination, the key concept there is free will. Anything that takes away our free will, not kosher. Okay. Let's see this one. Caleb says, I've seen your boy in the cave video. I'll explain what that is in a second. And it cleared up many things. And I'd like to thank you for that. But what I want to know is what's the point in teaching the gospel to the boy if God is just? Okay, so the boy in the cave video, if I'm not mistaken, one time I said in a sermon about how like it goes with the idea of like how will God judge people? And, you know, what about the people who were born in a cave and they never heard the gospel? No one ever told them about anything. Are those people going to be judged the same as me and you? And the answer is, of course, no. Each one is judged based on what they're given. So that person will be judged based on what he or she was taught, or he, because it's a boy in a cave, which is different than what I was taught. So I'll be judged based on what I'm taught. So it's not like, it's not a Scantron test where who gets the right answer. It's to whom much is given, much is required. Okay. Now your question, Caleb, what is the point in teaching the gospel to the boy if God is just? I'm not sure I follow. God is just and God will judge based on what that person was given. But our goal is to give the person as much as we can because it's by the gospel that we live free. Okay. If we don't have the gospel, if that boy doesn't know the gospel, he'll live in chains or a subpar life. You can't live. I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly without the gospel of Jesus Christ. Okay. Lots of questions today. So let me move through a little quickly. Okay, I'll skip that one. Let's go to this one. Mark Ibrahim asks, why is it when I'm praying and have no thoughts of sins is when I commit more sins? When I'm more busy, sometimes I feel calm, but temptation seems to be the highest for me. When I'm praying, I have no thoughts. I have no thoughts of sins is when I commit more sins. When I'm more busy, sometimes I feel tempted. Here's the thing about busyness. Okay, there's like a balance. Busy to an extreme, not good. Idle, not good. The right place is in between. God did not create us to be idle and just resting all the time. okay, and not doing anything and be lazy. God didn't create us, but God also didn't create us to be pedal to the metal full speed. And actually, it's ironic that you asked that, because I'm actually working on this Sunday's talk. I'm starting a new series this Sunday called Busy, Busy, Busy. And the premise of the series is this, is that when COVID first hit, okay, a year and a half ago, and life shut down, we were all so busy, life shut down, and we all said, this is great, life is slower pace, we're never going to go back to the way it used to be. And I don't know about you, but the way it is here and the way everything I see, we're just as busy now as we ever have been, and we went back to what we were plus more. So the whole point of the series is about kind of slowing down and creating margin and space and breathing room in our lives. Anyway, the point is that we want to avoid the two extremes. All right, being busy, no time for ourselves, no good. Other extreme of being idle, the devil will mess you up in either one. That's always the way the devil works, by the way. He works in extremes. Okay, and you can even look at it like, look at politics, for example. Rarely is the right answer on the extremes. Like, problems don't get solved on extremes. Okay, solutions don't get reached on extremes. People don't come together on extremes. Where the solution usually lies is somewhere in the middle. Okay, and that's where we solve problems. That's where we come together. And that's where we all have to be working, whether that's politically, but I'm talking about also here spiritually, is that avoiding the extremes, because that's where the devil plays with us, whereas usually it's somewhere in the middle that we find the solution. Someone named Hannibal. Okay, that's a great name if you watch the A-Team like I did when you were growing up. Father, I'm full-time work 16 hours a day. How can I handle to read the Egbeya prayer books? I would say to you, Hannibal is love calling you Hannibal, by the way. I would say to you that, you do the best that you can. I don't think there's like a set, like if you do 10 minutes of prayer, that's good. But if it's 9 minutes, it's not good enough. Again, we'll avoid the extremes. The same answer as before. Avoid the extreme. Number one of, I'm too busy, I don't have time to pray. You lose in that situation. You lose. God doesn't lose, you lose. Prayer's for us. Prayer's not for God. Prayer's for me and my soul. Okay, prayer makes me better, gives me peace. So avoid extreme number one. I don't have time to pray, I work too much. Extreme number two, which is the guilt and like, oh no, I have to pray an hour a day or else God's not going to bless me or anything like that. Do the best that you can. I always tell this to moms who just have babies. How do I used to pray this, and I used to read the Bible this. Do the best that you can. Okay, obviously your schedule is different because you have a baby and you're nursing and whatnot. Do the best that you can, and come up with a routine that works for your schedule. Sandra Jean, who, if I'm not mistaken, is my friend from Toronto. Good to see you, Sandra Jean. Do you believe in God's favor? Absolutely, I believe in God's favor. I believe that, I think your question is that, like, the grace of God is upon his children, for sure. Look at Esther, when she was going into the beauty pageant thing in the king's court, and it says that God gave her grace and favor in the eyes of the people who are around. So for sure, if what you're saying by that is, does God favor certain people? I'm not saying it that way. I believe we're all God's favorite. Okay, so hope I answered your question there. All right, let's go down right here. Lots and lots of questions here today. How about this one? All right. I got to start with this one. Says, we love you. So I got to start with that one. We love you from Ethiopia. If there's no predestination, why do God strengths Pharaoh's heart, and why Copt women don't cover their hair? Ooh, okay. Not sure the connection between God. I think you're saying harden Pharaoh's heart, and Coptic women don't cover. Coptic women don't cover their hair. I kind of talked about the predestination one, so I'll just basically reiterate what I said before, is that there's no such thing as no free will. So even Pharaoh, okay, when it says that God hardened his heart, Pharaoh always at 100% of the time had 100% free will. He made his own choice. Now, the results of those choices was the hardening of his heart. Okay, but that's different than God gave him no choice. God leaves us to our own choices. I think it's in Romans 1, that God left them up to their own desires, their own lusts. So it's like the person who steals, okay, they're going to go to jail. That's the consequence of their decision. That's not predestination. That's not God forcing them to go to jail. That's God giving them the choice. Pharaoh had the choice. I mean, my goodness, 10 times, 10 times Moses came to him. Not 10. Well, Moses came to him several times and said, let my people go. There's your choice right there. And he said no. And then God, trying to help Pharaoh out, said, okay, I'm going to make it very clear that this Moses fella, he's from me. So you know what? I'm going to make it dark over here and light over here. Just so you know, I'm going to turn the river into blood. I'm going to bring the locusts. I'm going to bring the frogs. God was helping Pharaoh to see that it was from him, but Pharaoh made 10 choices, more than that, obviously. So yeah, that's free will. That's not predestination. Like, you can't look at Pharaoh's story and say that he didn't have a choice. Like, more than anyone, to be honest, Pharaoh had a choice. Why Coptic women don't cover their hair. Let's go on to the next question. Okay, let's go to this one. This one is from Soliana. How do we learn to listen effectively to the voice of God so that harm doesn't come to our life? And so we can differentiate God's voice from Satan in our conscience. Okay, so let me just correct something in your question. Listening to the voice of God doesn't mean that harm won't come to your life. Jesus promised, in the world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. And St. Paul says that all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus must suffer persecution. So we need to learn how to listen to the voice of God, and I'll answer that. But listening to the voice of God doesn't mean I won't have trials and tribulations. Quite the opposite, okay? And every godly person did. So we don't listen to the voice of God so we have an easy life. We listen to the voice of God so we have the best life. Question you're asking, though, is how to listen to the voice of God. I truly believe that there is, when it comes to hearing God's voice, there is desire and technique. Okay, desire and technique. We focus 90% of our time on technique. Like, what should I do? What should I read? How should I do it? Like, the technique. We spend 90% of our time on technique, 10% on desire. I believe you should do the exact opposite. I believe that 90% of hearing God's voice is the desire, and the technique is the 10%. Meaning, God speaks, like we said earlier, some people God speaks through dreams. Some people God speaks through prayer. God speaks through your father of confession. God can speak through an email. God, for sure, for me, speaks through my Bible reading. Can sometimes speak through a spiritual book. The technique isn't as important as the desire. The one who truly seeks to know the will of God and say, God, I want to hear your voice. God will find a way to speak to that person. So let's not focus so much on the technique. Let's focus more on the desire and the submitting myself to the voice of God and the will of God. I'm a father. If my child truly wants to know my will, say, Dad, I want to know what it is you want for my life, I'll find a way to reveal it to that child. So focus more on desire versus technique. Okay. All right. Wow, we got lots of questions right here. Let's see. Let's try this one. Safi says, how should a follower of Christ deal internally with disappointments and failures in life? Is it wrong to be sad or depressed? Is it wrong to be sad or depressed? No, definitely not wrong to be sad or depressed. I mean, that's an emotion that is God gave us our emotions. Okay. And it's not wrong to be sad. What I would say is how we deal with disappointments and failures is number one, realizing that they are a part of life. And I think we did a great disservice. Some of us grew up in churches or maybe reading books or hearing sermons that like that first question said, the question earlier, that like, if we follow God, everything will work out for us. And I don't even know where this came from because it's not biblical. Like, you can't read the story of any of the followers of Christ and see that everything goes smoothly for them. Like, we are a church that talks about martyrs. Okay. We love the martyrs. There's one right there. Okay. St. Timothy right there. We love the martyrs. Do you realize all of the martyrs got killed in the end? That's what made them martyrs. So get rid of this idea that there'll be no disappointments or there's no trials or no tribulations. What we need to do as children of God is realize that there's a greater purpose and there's a greater mission. So my goal isn't just an easy, convenient, comfortable life. My goal is something greater. And as long as we have that, then we'll be able to deal with the disappointments here, okay, to be able to look higher towards something else. Okay. Okay, let's see. We got some long questions right here. All right, let's put this one on. All right. Victoria says, Amen, church. Please don't judge me and my family, but ever since my husband lost a job due to pandemic, it's a struggle for us trying to survive. Residing in a hotel, we have to be out of the hotel all day at 11 a.m. We are short $56. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't think I can see the rest of your question, but I remember you asked a question last week too. We're praying for you, Victoria. Okay, and we'll all lift you up in prayer today. Okay, may God bless you. Again, this is Baruch, again from Ethiopia. Can we listen to music that are not spiritual, like rock, rap? I mean, can we? The answer is in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, where St. Paul says that all things are lawful for me, but all things are not helpful. Our mode of operation, our MO as Christians, isn't what's allowed and not allowed, but it's what's helpful and not helpful. So there's certain types of music that help me, bring me closer to God, certain kinds of music that take me further away from God. It's like TV. Can I watch TV? Is TV okay or not okay? Are movies okay or not okay? Well, it depends what you're watching. Is it what you're watching taking you closer or bringing you further away? So my answer to you, Baruch, is we should not listen to things that pull us away from God. We should that should be our number one priority. That's our measuring stick. Okay. Okay, I will take let's see, I'll take one more question. Let me go back up right here. Let's go to this one. Sandra Jean said, I had a recent surgery and visited my father on the other side during a moment I nearly passed. The place was beautiful. Oh, I nearly passed, meaning like I nearly passed away. The place was beautiful. My father was across the river and emotionless. No one else was there. It was his paradise. Why do you think my dad didn't look? I don't know if there's more to that question or not. I can't answer that for you, Sandra. I can't tell you what it is that you saw, but I can tell you that whenever people say like, you know, I had this vision, was that heaven? What I'll say is that heaven is greater than anything that's imaginable. So if you saw something good, heaven is better. If you saw something great, heaven is greater. I don't know what it is that you saw, but I would take that one to God. And, you know, again, I would discuss that with, you know, some spiritual mentors and fathers and see if they can help me make sense of it. Okay. That is it for today. I'm going to head out. And I want to let everyone know that, that next week I will actually not be here. I'll be traveling next week on Thursday. So it'll be 2 weeks till my next Ask Me Anything, but hopefully I will see you all then. And for those who are local, like I said, starting a new series on Sunday called Busy, Busy, Busy. Those who are not local, you can check us out on our YouTube page. And it's going to be a fun series that we need it now more than ever, because enough is enough with all the busyness. It's time for us to get back into some kind of a rhythm in life and stop making excuses. Okay. So thanks so much for joining. Have a great rest of the day. And